Did the Romans really conquer freezing Britain and snowy Gaul while wearing sandals and a bedsheet? It sounds absolutely insane, right? Whenever we picture a Roman, we see someone in a pristine white toga lounging in the Mediterranean sun. But the truth is, these guys were fighting for their lives in the mud and snow of Scotland, Germany, and northern France. They were facing winds so cold they could freeze the water in their canteens. And yet, they refused to wear pants. They literally thought trousers were for barbarians. So, how on earth did a Roman legionary survive a winter night on Hadrian's Wall without freezing to death? If you think they just shivered their way through history, you are in for a massive surprise. Because the way they kept warm was so clever, so layered, that it actually puts our modern winter fashion to shame. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at a Roman statue the same way again. All right, let's kick things off by shattering the biggest myth right away, the toga. You see it in every movie, every painting. But here's the reality check. The toga was a nightmare. It was a massive, awkward 4 to 6 kilogram piece of wool that took forever to drape properly. Imagine trying to put that on in the dark, in the rain, while a barbarian is charging at you with an axe. Not gonna happen. The toga was strictly for ceremonies, for politicians showing off in the city. It was the ancient equivalent of a tuxedo. For everyday life, and especially for military campaigns, the Roman wardrobe was completely different. It was practical, it was functional, and most importantly, it was layered. So, what did the average Roman soldier actually wear? In the summer, it was simple. A simple linen tunic, usually with short sleeves, and those iconic open-toed sandals, the calogi. But when winter rolled in and the temperatures dropped below freezing in places like Britannia, the calogi went straight into storage. You couldn't march through frozen mud with open shoes. That's where the calti came in. Imagine a sturdy, enclosed leather boot that covered the entire foot. They were thick, durable, and designed to keep the wet and cold out. But the Romans didn't stop there. They had a secret weapon for their feet, the udones. What are udones, you ask? They were socks. Thick, woolly, warm socks. But these weren't your average tube socks. Roman soldiers would put these wool socks on, and then they would wrap their feet and legs in fasciae, long strips of fabric, almost like modern puttees or gaiters. They would wrap these tightly from their ankles up to their calves and then lace their boots over them. It created a triple-layer insulation system that kept their feet dry, prevented blisters, and locked in the heat. So, no pants? Maybe. But frozen feet? Absolutely not. Now let's move up the body. That simple linen tunic we talked about? It got a major upgrade for the winter. Soldiers wore a winter tunic made of wool, and it often came with long sleeves, something you don't see on many statues. Wool is a miracle fiber. It keeps you warm even when it's wet, which is crucial in the rainy British climate. But one tunic wasn't always enough. There are historical accounts, like the writings about the Emperor Octavian Augustus, that suggest he was a bit of a chilly guy. To stay warm, he would wear no fewer than 4 tunics at once. 4. He must have looked like a marshmallow, but he was a warm, toasty marshmallow. Imagine the layering system. A linen tunic against the skin to wick away moisture, then 1, 2, even 3 wool tunics on top to trap the heat. This wasn't just about comfort, it was survival. But what about the outer layer? You need something to stop the wind and the sleet. The Romans had a whole arsenal of cloaks for every occasion. The most common military cloak was the sagum. It was a simple rectangular piece of heavy wool, fastened at the shoulder with a brooch. It was the soldier's blanket, his sleeping bag, and his raincoat all in one. For officers and emperors, there was the fancier paludamentum. But for truly terrible weather, they had a genius invention: the paenula. Imagine a modern poncho. The paenula was a thick, often hooded oval or semicircular cloak that you pulled over your head. It was essentially a mobile tent. It offered maximum protection from the elements, and the best part? Many of them came with a hood, or cucullus. If your paenula didn't have one, you could buy a separate hood, almost like a monk's cowl, to wear underneath. And for the really brutal cold, They had the subpanula, a panula with an extra lining sewn inside for extra warmth. Now we have to talk about the areas that lose heat the fastest, the neck and the waist. You might think the neck warmer is a modern invention for skiers, but the Romans beat us to it by 2,000 years. They had a scarf called the focale. It was a thick woolen scarf wrapped around the neck. It served two purposes. First, it kept the freezing wind from going down the back of their armor, and second, it acted as a padding layer to stop the heavy metal of their helmets and the edges of their segmentata armor from chafing their skin. It was comfort and insulation rolled into one. And then there's the waist. You might see pictures of Romans and wonder about that weird bulge around their midsection. That, my friends, is the fascia ventralis. It's a wide belt-like band of fabric or soft leather wrapped tightly around the stomach and lower back. Think of it as a Roman back brace and a belly warmer. It served a dual purpose. Medically, it supported the muscles of the lower back, which was crucial for soldiers carrying heavy packs and marching all day. But thermally, it kept the body's core warm. By keeping the torso hot, the blood circulating to the extremities, the hands and feet, stays warmer. It's basic biology, and the Romans understood it perfectly. Finally, let's top it all off. When you picture a Roman soldier, you probably think of that iconic metal helmet, the galea. But those helmets are freezing cold in the winter and boiling hot in the sun. So, when the battle was over and the soldier was just patrolling or relaxing in camp, the helmet came off. In its place, they wore hats. But these weren't military-issue one-size-fits-all caps. Roman soldiers, like civilians, had a wide variety of headwear. In the summer, they wore wide-brimmed straw hats, the petasus, to keep the sun off their necks. In the winter, they switched to the pileus. The pileus was a snug-fitting cap made of felted wool. Felt is incredibly warm and water-resistant. They also wore simple leather caps, sometimes with ear flaps.